सो वेरी गुड डे टू ऑल। और आज हम कवर करेंगे थिंग्स फॉल अपार्ट बाय चिनुआ अचीबे और इसके कुछ इम्पोर्टेंट एमसीक्यूज देखेंगे जो हमारे एग्जामिनेशन में हमको मदद करेगा क्वेश्चंस को टैकल करने के लिए। तो चिनुआ अचीबे का जो थिंग्स फॉल अपार्ट था वो पब्लिश कब हुआ था? तो सीधा साधा सिंपल आंसर है 1958। और ये नाम याद रख लीजिए आप लोग। एंड नाउ द टाइटल ऑफ द नोवेल is famously drawn by W.S. Pym, The Second Coming. Second Coming में things पर fall apart, ये जो पोएम है, पर्टिकुलर कॉन्सेप्ट फ्रॉम द एस्टियन हिस्टोग्राफी डस्ट, मतलब किस में द स्पिरिचुअल, ये है द हिस्टोरिक गैस, ओके द हिस्टोरिक गैस represent the 200 years of historical cycle of rise and fall, and Achebe uses this to demonstrate the macro historical shift of Igbo cycle and the Christian colonial cycle begins. So he is using as a, like in the poem, like East uses the resurrection of Christ, and when evil is loomed over the world, there is a resurrection of Christ. So, and here also things are falling apart. The Igbo cycle is ending, and the Christian cycle is beginning. The colonial cycle is beginning. So, in which of the seminal essays did Achebe famously articulate that any African writer who tries to avoid the social and the political issues of contemporary Africa will end up being completely irrelevant? Art for art's sake is just another piece of deodorized dog shit. So, what is the novel as a teacher? And the novel as a teacher is an essay, and it is published in 1965. Okay. Things Fall Apart is a foundational text of Achebe's highly acclaimed historical sequences and a trilogy, African trilogy. Basically, the question is asking about the correct chronological order of the trilogy. So, Things Fall Apart for Arrow of God and No Longer at Ease. Now, Achebe's creative depiction of Umuofia is largely grounded in his geographical roots. Which actual Nigerian village was Achebe born and raised in, which profoundly shaped his familiarity with traditional Igbo society? Ogidi. Okay, you have to remember this. Mm. Which Western literary work served as an immediate negative catalyst for Achebe to write Things Fall Apart due to its derogatory caricature like portrayal of African intellectual and civilizations? Joseph Conrad's Art of Darkness. Acha. Sorry, I'm wrong here. Joyce Carey, Winston Johnson. He also critiqued. Oh no no, Thiago critiqued about Heart of Darkness, and in that Heart of Darkness, he critiqued about the portrayal of the African culture. So this things also you remember. From the post-colonial theoretical perspective, Achieve strategies of writing English while structurally embedding the Igbo proverbs, syntax, and idioms is best classified under Will Ashcroft, Garrett Griffin, and Helen Tiffel concept of abrogation and appropriation. So, rejects the refusal of English. So, there is an abrogation, and instead molds and adopts the subverts the colonial language to carry the African cultural which appropriation. Basically, this concept is like using their own language to critique their own culture. So English is used to critique Englishman. Here in India, like Rusty uses chatnification of the language in Midnight's Children Dream to critique. So after the independence, to eliminate the colonial baggage, the writer decided to have their own context of English that would be very Indian in itself. Here also, the Africans writer are trying to create their own version of English that is African in itself. If if not possible, if they are not trying to eliminate those languages, they are trying to adopt that very language so that they can be the language itself remains true to their culture. So in 1965, Achebe delivered a highly controversial historical chancellor lecture at University of Massachusetts. Amherst later published an image of Africa. Which term did he use to describe Joseph Conrad? An thoroughgoing racist. Okay. The structural configuration of things fall apart is divided into three distinct parts. So, the answer is first part depicts the Ibugo life, and the second part covers his exile in Banta. Banta, uh, uh, it is another village, Nani ka ghar, is what I would say. Then part third documents the tragic collapse under his return. So it depicts the imperialism or colonialism of the African culture by European nations. In 1984, there was one Berlin conference, and they decided that who would go to rule which country of Africa in Europe, like Italy, Belgium, and England, France, everyone. To which prominent critical school or movement does Things Fall Apart stand as a premier response, steering the narrative paradigm away from the Eurocentric universalism, like African literally post-colonialism or Euro-African dialect? So let's look about this narrative plot, structural dynamics, and character nuances of this novel. At the opening of the novel, the reader is introduced to the Okonkwo early frame achieved through a historic wrestling match at the age of the 18. So, like, he's built of whom did he defeat to earn his widespread acclaim? So he defeats the um remember the name. These are very difficult name, but Amel Nize the cat. Amalnis the cat. He defeats him. He's a very legendary wrestler who for 7 years had been unbeaten from Umofia to Ivanio. So Okonkovo defeats him and exert his physical strength and exert his superiority in the tribe. Okonko's father, Yunoka, is represent. He was a Yunoka. Is not a He's not depicted someone as masculine. He has a very feminine attitude, and he's burdened with lone, and he loves music, and that is not very much appreciated that time in African culture. So is represented as a structural foil to Okonwo's hyper masculinity. Yunoko is diversely terms of by the villagers. What dual meaning does the word hold within the Igbo culture? So, a woman and a man who has taken no title, a woman and his man who has no title. So there are so over the course of this period, he will earn 18 titles, Okonko. So titles signifies the respect in the society, respect in the tribe. So the Okonko was having no title, so he was not that much respected in the society. The tragic hostage Ikenmefuna is brought to Imofia as a ritual compensation for an offense committed by his home village. What specific crime did the village of mm, Mabino commit against Umofia? What do they commit? They murdered the daughter of the Umofia, the wife of the Yudo. Ogbuefi Yudo at the market. They murdered. A daughter of Umofia went to the market in Ambino and was murdered to avoid the war. Mamino surrendered a virgin girl. Virgin girl is to the married to the like Umofia, s- and young lad Ikmefuna is taken as uh, mm, mm, taken as a hostage by what our Okonkwo. When Okonkwo sets out to build his wealth, he seeks sharecropping capital from a wealthy man named Nawakibe. What specific and generous quality of seed arms does Nawakibe grant to Okonkwo? He grants 800 seed arms. During the week of peace, a holy period observed before the planting of the crops, Okonkwo commits a major transgression by brutally beating his youngest wife. Okay, so he's beat. So. Who is the wife and what was offense? Like Ojiugo, Ojiugo, she went to plait her hair and failed to return in time to cook the midday meal. So that's why he wed his third wife for neglecting her domestic duty to plait her hair at friend's house and violating the sacred peace of Annie. So यहाँ पे कोई मार धाड़ नहीं होती, and this thing he violated that. Who is the priest of the earth goddess Annie who visit Okonkwo after his violation of the week of peace to deliver the stern warning? The evil you have done can ruin the whole clan. The earth goddess whom you have insulted may refuse to give you us her increase. So it's Zenai. Zenai is the priest, earth goddess, and he refuses to touch anything in Okonkwo's house while demanding a heavy ritual fine. Identify the elder who visits Okonkwo to advise him against participating in the ritual murder of Ikmefuna, explicitly saying that uh, the boy calls you father, bear no hand in his death. Izendo. So what happens when Ikmefuna as a compensation comes to Okonkwo, uh, he sees those qualities of a boy in Ikmefuna that he doesn't see in his own son. Ikmefuna over the time grows very close to Okonkwo and they become more like a father and son. And he plays with son and he respects Okonkwo. But there is one ritual that he have to kill that boy, and but uh, Izidu, who has observed the situation, who has observed the relationship between the Ikmefuna and Okonkwo, he advises Okonkwo not to kill the boy because he calls you father. But Okonkwo, in pride, decide to partake and he kills the boy. The what specific reasons drive Okonkwo to draw his machete and strike down Ikmefuna during the journey outside Umofia, even after the boy runs to him carrying for protection? He was afraid of being thought as a weak by his peers. See, the pride is working here. How does the Noe Okonkwo's eldest son internally react to the news of Ikmefuna's sudden death? So they are best friends now, na? This Noe and Ikmefuna. So what does he do? A vague chill comes over him, recalling the cry of twin infants left to die in the forest. So it's a very painful moment for him as well. Ikwefi, Okonkwo's second wife, Ikwefi, you remember this name, Ikwefi, it can be asked in exam, suffers a series of tragic infant death. 9 of her 10 children died in infancy. Within Igbo cosmology, what is such a child called? It's Ogbenje. Then Ogbenje is a wicked child who after dying returns to his mother wombs to be reborn and die repeatedly, building endless grief. Where does another child also die in African? There is one novel, but her mother kills her because of slavery. It's in Beloved novel. You should read that novel to break the cycle of Obanje, child and prisoner Iji- Ijinama's life. A medicine man named Ogbake Uena unearths is Inzanama's buried item. What is the crucial talisman object called? It's a Yui Uwa. It's a smooth pebble wrapped in a cloth. Digging it up break the dark link between the child and the spirit world. Who are the Igweguo that gathered to administration justice in the tribunal court of Imofia, and who is their leader representing the oldest village? They are masked ancestral spirit of the clan led by the evil forest. In chapter 13, Okonkwo commits a grave offense during the funeral of Ijidu, resulting in his immediate banishment from the clan. And what is the nature of the crime? What is his gun explodes and kills Ijidu's 16-year-old son, and it's an accidental crime. So and in accidental crime there is also one offense. Accidental offense also carries certain punishment. We will see what the punishment is. He has to abandon his village. To which village must Okonkwo flee for a 7-year exile, and what symbolic kingship 7 year, you remember this year of exile, 7 years, what symbolic kingship tie does the village share with him? So the motherland, it's the motherland where his maternal kingsmen reside. Why nani ka ghar, what I was telling you. During the Okonko's exile, his wise maternal uncle Uchendu delivers an extensive speech explaining why the Igbo name the children Neka. What is the philosophical core of Uchendu's explanation? A man belongs to his fatherland in times of prosperity but seeks comfort in his motherland when his life returns bitter and sorrowful. In the second year of Okonwo's exile, Oborika visits him with tragic news about a neighboring village called Abe. What caused the total destruction of Abe? Because there is a retaliating massacre by white men after the village killed a white man on the iron horse. So the white men have the modern equipment, they have the guns and all, and they are trying to eradicate the tribes and trying to colonize Africa, and that is very much visible in the novel.